7 dogmen I have seen. Dear Scary Stories NYC. Greetings, dear reader. My name is Harold, and I am an elderly gentleman who has lived a life that is perhaps more extraordinary than most in at least one way. You see, I have had the unique and somewhat terrifying privilege of encountering a creature known as dogman or wolfman on more than a handful of occasions. A dogman, for those unfamiliar, is a Midwestern creature of legend and lore. A beast that walks on 2 legs like a man, but bears the unmistakable features of a canine. Its body is muscular and covered in thick fur. Its eyes glow with an eerie intelligence. And its head, well, its head is that of a wolf, complete with a snout and sharp, menacing teeth. My encounters with these creatures have been both fascinating and terrifying, and I have decided to share my experiences in this collection of personal remembrances. Each encounter has left an indelible mark on my life, shaping me into the man I am today. The first of these encounters took place in the year 1952, a time when I was just a young boy of 8, full of youthful curiosity and courage. Little did I know, my life was about to take a turn into the realm of the weird. I remember it as if it were yesterday, even though it happened 71 years ago now. I was just a boy of 8, living a simple life with a family of normal people in the heartland of America. Now, if you don't know what a normal human being was, consult your history books. My older sister Martha and I were sitting at the kitchen table, engrossed in one of our usual sibling chats, disagreeing over which were the best singers and radio shows. The sun had set, and the only light in the room was the warm glow from the incandescent overhead lamp. Suddenly a chill ran down my spine, as if someone had walked over my grave. I remember the hair on the back of my neck standing up, a sense of dread washing over me. I glanced at Martha, and I could see she felt it too. We both turned toward the window, and what we saw next has haunted me for the rest of my life. There, pressed against the glass, was a face unlike anything we'd ever seen. It was a monstrous visage, a grotesque blend of man and beast. Its eyes were a piercing yellow, glowing in the dim light, and its snout was long and wolf-like. But what struck me the most were its ears, tall and pointed, like those of a German shepherd, but far more menacing. I remember the breath hitching in my throat. I remember my heart pounding like a drum. Martha screamed, a high-pitched, terrified sound that echoed through the house. The creature, this dogman, as it came to be known, tilted its head, as if curious, its eyes never leaving ours. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, it was gone, leaving behind only the echo of our terror and the chilling imprint of its face on the window. Now, I never saw that particular dogman again, but he was the first of a number that I would see. My second dogman encounter. You know, the memories of my youth are as vivid as the day they occurred. It was 1957, the day after my bar mitzvah. I was 13, a newly minted man in the eyes of my faith, and I decided to take a solitary walk in the woods to reflect on my newfound responsibilities. Little did I know I was about to encounter something that would forever change my perception of the world. The woods were quiet that day, the only sound being the rustling of leaves under my feet and the occasional chirping of a bird. I was lost in thought when a movement in the distance caught my eye. I squinted, trying to make out what it was, and then I saw it. The dogman, the creature that had haunted my dreams since that frightful night in 1952. This time, however, I was not paralyzed by fear. I was at a safe distance, and the creature seemed unaware of my presence. I took the opportunity to observe it, to really see it. I thought the head was the most striking feature. It was wolf-like, with a broad snout, filled with sharp teeth. Its eyes were a piercing yellow, glowing eerily in the dim light of the forest. It had a wild, untamed look about it, a primal energy that was both terrifying and fascinating. The body was equally imposing. The shoulders were massive, like those of a seasoned football player. They were broad and muscular, rippling with raw power. The creature's fur was a dark, matted mess, adding to its intimidating presence. It stood on two legs, its posture eerily human-like. It was a sight to behold, a creature of nightmares and folklore standing right before my eyes. I watched it for what felt like an eternity, my heart pounding in my chest. And then, as quickly as it appeared, it was gone, disappearing into the depths of the forest. I was left standing there, my mind reeling from what I just witnessed. It was my second encounter with the dogman, and was just as terrifying and awe-inspiring as the first one. My third dogman encounter. The year was 1964, a time of change and transition for me. I had just returned from military duty, eager to embrace the quietude of civilian life. Little did I know an encounter awaited me that would shake me to my core. It was the first week of my return. I was trying to adjust to the silence of the night, a stark contrast to the cacophony of the battlefield. I was lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling, when I heard a rustling outside my window. It was a sound that brought about a feeling of déjà vu. It was a sound that sent chills down my spine. With a sudden surge of courage, I decided to confront whatever was lurking outside. I threw open the window with a loud bang, hoping to startle the intruder. And startle it I did. The creature that had been hiding in the shadows was none other than a dogman, a kind of a beast I had encountered twice before. As the monster turned to flee, I got a clear view of it from behind. Its body was massive, like a hulking football player, with broad shoulders that rippled with strength. Its fur was a mottled gray, thick, matted, covering its body like a shaggy coat. Its hind legs were muscular and strong, built for speed and agility. The tail was long and bushy, swaying wildly as the creature sprinted away. But what struck me the most again was that creature's head. It looked like a wolf's head, but more primitive somehow, with large pointed ears that stood erect. It had a wild, untamed look about it that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. As I watched the dogman disappear into the night, I was left with a sense of unease. But there was also a strange sense of respect. Here was a creature, a cryptid, living on the fringes of our world, a reminder of the mysteries that still exist in the corners of our reality. My next dogman encounter. The year was 1972. I was a young man of 28, full of vigor and life. I was returning from a long drive when I noticed a flat tire on my old Chevy. I remember it was a chilly evening, the kind that sends shivers down your spine even before anything spooky happens. As I was wrestling with the stubborn lug nuts, I heard a rustling in the nearby bushes. I paused, my heart pounding in my chest. I had seen the dogman thrice before, and each encounter was etched into my memory. I picked up the tire iron, my only defense handy, and I waited. Suddenly the creature emerged from the shadows. It was a sight to behold, a towering figure with the head of a wolf and the body of a man. Its eyes glowed in the dim light, and it bared its teeth, letting out a guttural roar that echoed through the silent night. I stood my ground, gripping the tire iron tightly. The creature advanced, its massive paws crunching the gravel beneath. I could see the muscles ripple under its fur, its claws gleaming ominously. With a swift movement, I swung the tire iron at the creature. It let out a surprised yelp and backed away, its eyes never leaving mine. I continued to wave the tire iron, creating a barrier between us. The creature seemed to understand that I was not going down without a fight. It must have decided that I was too much trouble, though, because with one last roar, it turned and disappeared into the darkness. I was left standing there, my heart pounding in my chest, the tire iron still clutched in my hand. The encounter was brief, but it was enough to remind me of the raw strength and primal fear that the dogman can instill. This was my fourth encounter with the creature, but it was far from the last. My fifth encounter with the dogman. The year was still 1972. It was the same year I had encountered the dogman on a highway while changing a flat tire. Little did I know that encounter was not the end of it. The beast had followed me home, a fact that sent chills down my spine and filled my heart with dread. I remember it was a quiet evening. My wife and our young daughter were in the living room, their laughter filling the house. Suddenly a low growl echoed from outside, instantly silencing the mirth. I knew right away what it had to be. That dogman had found me. I could see the fear in my wife's eyes, the confusion on my daughter's face. I knew I had to act. I grabbed that same tire iron I'd used to defend myself on the highway. It felt heavy in my hands, a symbol of the impending confrontation. I stepped outside, the cold night air biting at my skin. The creature was there, its massive form illuminated by the porch light. It was even more terrifying seeing it on my property, its wolf-like face twisted into a snarl, its massive shoulders hunched, as if ready to pounce. I stood my ground, my grip on the tire iron tightening. I yelled at the beast, my voice echoing. I banged the iron against the ground, creating a loud metallic clang. The creature flinched, its ears flattening against its head. I continued to make noise, my heart pounding in my chest. To my surprise, the creature began to back away, its snarl fading into a low growl. I continued to yell and bang the tire iron on anything hard I could see, my fear replaced by a surge of adrenaline. Slowly the creature turned and retreated into the darkness, its massive form disappearing from view. I stood there for a moment, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I had done it. I had defended my family and my home. The dogman was gone, and I hoped he would never return. My sixth dogman encounter. The sixth encounter. A tale that still sends shivers down my spine. It was 5 years after the multiple incidents of 1972. My old army buddy Jack and I decided to take a camping trip in the Black River State Forest in Wisconsin. We were both seasoned outdoorsmen, and we preferred the solitude of off-trail camping. We had set up camp in a small clearing, surrounded by towering pines and the gentle murmur of the Black River nearby. The first couple of days were uneventful, filled with fishing, hiking, and reminiscing about our army days. But on the third night, our peaceful retreat was shattered. We were sitting by the fire, the darkness of the forest pressing in around us, when we heard a rustling in the underbrush. We both froze, our conversations dying in our throats. I had told my friend the stories of the dogman, but after my previous encounters, I had hoped I would never cross paths with one ever again. Suddenly, the creature burst into the clearing, its eyes glowing in the firelight. It was massive, standing on two legs like a man, but with the head and the fur of a wolf. Its shoulders were broad and muscular, like a football player, and its claws dug into the earth as it moved. Jack and I jumped to our feet, our hearts pounding. We were both veterans trained to face danger, but this was unlike any enemy Jack had ever encountered before. I grabbed a burning branch from the fire, and Jack picked up a large rock. We stood our ground, shouting and waving our makeshift weapons at the beast. The dogman snarled, its teeth gleaming in the firelight, but it didn't advance. We continued our display, our voices echoing through the forest. After what felt like an eternity, the dogman finally backed down. He gave us one last menacing growl before disappearing back into the darkness. Well, I can't speak for Jack, but I didn't sleep that night. At the first light of dawn, we packed up our camp and we left. This was a reminder of the wild and unpredictable nature of the dogman, a creature that continues to haunt my memories and my life to this day. My 7th and most recent encounter with a dogman. Well, this was a day I'll never forget. It was during the pandemic, a time when the world was already filled with fear and uncertainty. I was driving to a big box retailer to pick up some supplies. The day was overcast, the sky a gloomy gray, matching the mood of the world around me. As I was driving down the highway, my eyes caught a movement in my peripheral vision. There along the highway was a creature that I had not seen in many years, a creature that I had hoped to never see again. A dogman. The sight of it sent a chill down my spine, a feeling of terror that I hadn't felt in quite some time. The creature was massive, its fur a dark matted mess, its eyes glowing with a predatory gleam. It was then that it decided to give chase. My heart pounded in my chest as I pressed the accelerator, the engine roaring in response. The creature was fast, much faster than I remembered, and not only was it keeping pace, but it was gaining on me. I could see it in my rearview mirror, its massive form bounding after my car. The terror I felt was indescribable, a primal fear that gripped me and wouldn't let go. It was only the sight of oncoming traffic that finally scared the beast off. It veered off into the woods, disappearing from sight, but not from mind. To this day, that encounter remains my most recent experience with a dogman. The memory of it still haunts me, a reminder of the monsters that lurk in the shadows. But I know that I am not alone in my experiences, and I hope that by sharing my stories, others will come forward with their own. For the dogmen are still out there, and who knows when they will choose to reveal themselves again. As I type the last lines of this collection, I can't help but feel a sense of unease. Not because I'm afraid, but because I am certain that my encounters with the dogman are far from over. I have lived in this area for my entire life, and I have seen things that most people wouldn't believe. I have looked into the eyes of the dogman. I have heard its growls. I have felt its presence. I am convinced that there is still a breeding population of these creatures in my vicinity. The signs are all there. The eerie howls in the night, the large paw prints in the mud, the strange sightings by others in my community. I believe these creatures are more than just figments of my imagination, or the result of overactive minds. They are real, and they are here. I have a feeling I might see that old dogman again, possibly very soon. But until then, I will continue to live my life, always keeping an eye out for the unexpected, always ready for the next encounter. So, dear listener, remember this. The world is full of mysteries, and sometimes those mysteries come knocking at your door. When they do, don't be afraid. Stand tall, face them head on, and live to tell the tale. After all, life is nothing without a little adventure. Until we meet again, stay safe, Keep your eyes open. You never know when you might have your own encounter with the dogman. Your finger bones are called phalanges, and Angie's list is now called Angie. Someone please help me. Angie has donated again, and I can't think of anything else that rhymes with her name. Seriously, please join me in thanking Angie K for donating to us using the thanks button under each of our YouTube videos, and thereby making this episode a little bit more possible. Angie also leaves nice comments on our Rumble page, which I forgot we even had until she started leaving messages there. Yeah, apparently we are also on Rumble. There are a number of ways to help us try to stay alive in 2023 against overwhelming oddities, and here to lay some of them out for you is our international TV spokesmongrel Henry Lee Dogman. Hank?
Thanks, Biggie, and thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.